Non-periodic signal, sir.
Okay. It's a non-periodic signal. Okay, okay, non-periodic signal. So periodicity and random signals, periodic signal may not be, definitely will not be random. Okay. Non-periodic maybe mathematically can be defined. Okay, a non-periodic signal can be defined. So every non-periodic signal need not be always random. Okay, that's important. Okay, for example, a square pulse. A square pulse is existing over a period of time minus t/2 to plus t/2. That signal is non-periodic, but it's not random. Okay, you can define that signal. Exactly. Between this range, the signal exists, so you can define that. So random signals, deterministic signals, the key difference is deterministic signals can be mathematically modeled. Okay, always remember that hereafter. You can define a mathematical expression for all deterministic signals, okay? And a non-deterministic signal, you cannot define it through some mathematical modeling, okay? That is not feasible. But with some approximations, with some kind of approximations and some assumptions, we will try to analyze the random signals, okay, in higher semesters. Only in higher semesters. So right now, we will not be learning much about this. So using the ideas of probability, okay, probability, okay, we will try to understand these random signals to a good level. Okay, applicable, application-oriented level. We can apply this kind of analysis for some applications. So this kind of processes wherein the signals are all random, okay, you call it as a random process. Okay, random systems or random process. And another name is stochastics. Stochastic systems. Stochastic systems comes under maybe 7th semester. Statistical signal processing is one area wherein you'll be studying about this stochastic systems under the subject called statistical signal processing. Okay. So do you understand this idea clearly? Time shifting. Anybody having difficulty? This is the first one I said shifting, and then the second one I said scaling. Anybody having difficulty in visualizing it? Problem with this? Look at this particular value, 3/2. The fraction is 1.5 around. Okay, so naturally it is greater than 1. The scaling factor is greater than 1. Any scaling factor greater than 1, we are going to have compression. That's what noticing here. Okay, it's from -1 to 1. It has now come down to -2/3 to 2/3. So intuitively, you have to visualize it very clearly in your mind before you solve the problem. Okay. So what are all the operations we are going to perform? Initially, we are going to shift, and then you will be scaling. So what's the problem I said when you are scaling and shifting? Can somebody tell that? When you scale the signal and then you shift, what happens?
Position changes.
So you should be careful about one thing. What is that first thing? You are initially scaling. For example, the same signal, x of t, okay? X of t is now initially when you are scaling. What happens? You will be getting x of 3/2t first. And then when you are going to shift, 3/2 plus 1, 3/2 plus 1. Okay. So now when you are going to scale it, and then you should be careful about one thing I said. What is that? X of 3/2t plus 1 is what you want. Okay. Plus 1 is what you are interested in. Okay. So you are interested only this. The problem with this is when you are doing this, what do you need to consider? At this stage, I said something. Remember? See, this is a signal 3/2t. Okay, and when you are going to shift it with 1, in fact, what you are doing is 3/2 plus 1. Okay, something like this is what you are doing. So naturally, I don't want this. I want only this. For that, what is the correction you have to make here at the shifting stage?
First, we should shift and then we should scale.
Yeah, that's always the procedure we should follow is what I said. But the correction here, what is the correction we have to make here in order to make this to work? We have to do, I want this,
2/3,
what I have here
2/3.
is this. So this is nothing but, yeah, this is like, this is the signal I have now. I don't want this. I want only this. So I want 1 instead of 3/2. So what do I need to do? Simply take, instead of doing this operation, I'll be doing this operation. T plus 2/2. That's all. If I do this operation here, I'll be getting the exact shift whatever I want. Remember? So you can go through the problem again. That's the key idea. You should not forget. So normally when you commit error, normally you'll be committing error based on this only. Okay. So that's the thing I said. Remember, 3/2. This at this point of time we have 2/3, 4/3. Okay, 2/3, 4/3. After do 3/2 into t for our signal 1 and 2 here. So this 1 will become 1/3/2. Therefore, it is 2/3. It becomes 1 becomes 2/3, and this 2 becomes 2/3/2. It's going to become 4/3. Now I'm going to shift this by this amount. When I'm doing this, what I'm doing this 3/2 t plus 2/3. Only when I do this, I'll get this. You can see here multiplication. To multiply this, I'll get this. So naturally, this signal I have to take and do this operation. So naturally, take this, the corresponding values will be, for example, I want to know the value at this point. What is the value? T plus 2/3 at this point equal to 0. Therefore, t equal to minus 2/3. So this 0 is going to get shifted here, minus 2/3. And this 2/3 will become t plus 2/3. That is going to be equal to 2/3. It becomes 0. So the 2/3 is going to come to the 0 point. That's what this point is. You understand? Now t plus 2/3 is equal to 4/3. That will become 2/3. So the signal becomes like this. This is the original signal we got when we are shifting and then we are scaling. So this is like scaling and then shifting. So always remember this, scaling and shifting. When you are going to perform this operation, scaling followed by shifting, you should always remember this particular point. 3/2 t plus 1 is not equal to 3/2 t plus 1. If you remember this, then you go for that correction factor, 2/3 correction factor. Everybody with me? Anybody having difficulty in understanding this? Please ask me again and repeat. Anybody having difficulty in understanding this? Please ask me and repeat again. Is it clear? Don't make this mistake in the exam. Okay, shift followed by scale is much better. But if you want to perform scaling and followed by shifting, then do this. Okay, so that's about. So what about x of t is equal to x of t? You want to perform something like x of minus t. What do? Take the signal. For example, I have a signal like this. This is x of t. If I want to perform x of minus t, what do? Simply reflect the signal along the vertical axis. Okay, the signal will become like this. So this x of minus t. This is called flipping. Yeah, time reversal they call it. Another name is flipping. They call it. Flipping. Okay, so I will tell you one thing here, one important point. So tomorrow morning 9:45. Okay, we will be discussing a very important concept called the discrete sinusoidal signals. So don't miss the class. Okay, so this is a very important point because this is related to unit 3 and 4. Okay, so discrete sinusoidal signal, the periodicity property. Okay, periodicity property of discrete sinusoidal signal. So in fact, the first unit also we have periodic signals and non-periodic signals. We'll be learning about it. Okay, so the periodicity property of discrete sinusoidal is very something quite little difficult to understand. So I'm going to spend some around 30-40 minutes on that by tomorrow morning. So spend some time and try to understand it, discuss with me and try to make this idea very clear. Because this idea is what we'll be exploiting in the third unit under the topic called sampling theorem. If you understand this discrete sinusoidal waveform thoroughly, discrete time Fourier transformation, sampling, all those things easily you can understand. So spend some time by tomorrow morning with me on this. For today's class, I will be introducing you the linear time invariant systems. That's my focus of today's class. Okay, so still see under the classification of signals, I'll make it very clear. under the classification of signals. One is periodicity, non-periodicity. Okay. Another one is what this. Okay. We learned about something called odd and even. We will work out some problems on this. Okay. And then the third one is power and energy. I'll keep power and energy for the final topic before the examination. Okay. So in fact, power and energy are so important. It's very much essential for practicing engineers to understand power and energy signals clearly. So odd and even, it will be useful for understanding Fourier series, Fourier transformation now. Periodicity related to sampling. Okay, power and energy for building circuits, for developing or design of circuits. Okay, so these are some key topics we need to understand. So deterministic and then random is of no use to us much right now. Okay, deterministic we know that it's mathematically modeled. Non-deterministic cannot be modeled. With that we will proceed. Okay, with this idea in mind, now let us proceed further. Okay, so we should also know about the building blocks of signals. Building blocks are ramp, step, sine, exponential. So we learned about complex exponential signals like this. So you should understand the mathematics behind it. What you can do with complex numbers, complex mathematics, complex analysis they call it. Okay, so you should have all these ideas in your mind. Okay, so LTI systems. So what is linear time invariant systems? So I have a system here. Okay, there is an input, there is an output. Imagine the system can be like a resistor, a capacitor, a simple RC network. Or it can be, imagine, a kind of mass damper systems, spring mass damper system. Or you can think of systems like a water level system, water coming inside and going out, Q in, Q not. Okay, so and you would like to maintain the level in the tank. So every system is having a corresponding input. Let us call that input as X, which varies with respect to time t. The output Y, it varies with respect to t. So there is an input, there is an output. Okay, so if an input is a voltage, output can also be voltage or current here. The input is the applied force for a mechanical system. The output can be position, velocity, acceleration. Okay, the input for a chemical tank system is more like input flow rate, Q in, flow rate. Output can be the level in the tank or the height in the tank. Okay, all these systems are linear systems. So one key point, as I told earlier, is for all these linear systems, I'm taking it as time invariant systems, LTI systems. And I said one important property for all these systems, A sine omega t, if I'm going to give the output with some pi 1 phase angle difference, I'll be getting some B sine omega t plus some pi t. Remember this. So what is this really conveying to you? Can somebody help me out?
Frequency change. For phase change, phase change.
Okay, phase change is happening.
Phase and amplitude.
Yeah,
Same
so
frequency.
same frequency. So this idea, in fact, you'll be learning under the electric circuits a term called phasors. Have you learned this topic right now? Are you learning this? Phasors are representation of this kind of AC signals. Okay. In fact, you'll be taking only the magnitude of this signal along with the angle. Okay, magnitude and angle, primarily because the frequency omega is constant. So in the phasor representation is in the form of in the polar coordinates. In fact, you can represent like this. There is a magnitude for the phasor, and there is an angle to it. This angle is a pi. So any signal, a sinusoidal waveform, can be represented in terms of a phasor. This magnitude is nothing but the magnitude A here, okay? And this angle is nothing but the phase change. Hello? Hello? Some noise I'm getting. I think every one of you please mute in your end. Okay, I'm getting some kind of noise. Fine. Good. So now this is the point. So for all LTI system, if I give A sin omega t plus pi, I said B. So what is the reason I said, why do I get like this? Why it should not be, if I give sine E, why I'm not getting a triangular waveform here, or a rectangular waveform here, or a sawtooth waveform here?
Model based on differential equations, sir.
So all these systems, basically they are linear time invariant systems. They comprises of integrals and derivatives, differentials. So when you integrate a sine or cosine waveform, or when you integrate, when you integrate a sine or cosine waveform, what do you get? You're going to get a phase shifted version of it. Phase shifted version. So always you will end up in a sine or a cosine output. That's what I said in the long time back. Now, how do you characterize a linear system? So I will give you a system. Okay, it may be a mechanical system or an electrical system or a chemical process system. Some system I have given to you, or an electromechanical system, but I am saying it is linear. Okay, how do you prove that? Some system. I am asking you whether it is linear or non-linear. How do you work out that? How do you go about it? Can somebody come up with some kind of logic?
Can plot a graph versus time.
Okay, so what this guy is saying is plot a graph. Plot a what? Time, with respect to time, I'm going to plot something. What is the y-axis?
Independent variable.
Time is the independent variable.
Dependent variable.
Dependent. What is the dependent variable here for this LTI system? For this system, it is input x of t. Okay, output is some y of t. Input can be voltage current or something. Output can be voltage current. Or input can be force. Output can be position velocity. Input can be input flow rate. Output can be some level in the tank. So I told you some examples. So this is a signal x of t. Now I'm giving it. I'm getting some y of t. So I have given a black box now. It's a black box. I don't know what is inside. Black box, BB. Okay, black box. So when I say black box, what happens? When I say black box, I don't know what is inside. Okay, I don't know what is inside. So, but I'm trying to check whether this black box is a linear or a non-linear one. Linear or a non-linear one. That's what I want. How do I do it? I don't know what is inside.
The independent variable is not transforming, sir. Other function is transforming into something. Not the time is transforming into any other functions.
Okay.
So we can say invariant, sir.
Okay. That is one way of you are thinking like that. Okay. Keep thinking. I'm not stopping you, but keep thinking. But I'm looking for something else. Black box. I'm saying it is a black box. See, imagine you are sitting in the lab. Okay. I'm coming to the lab, coming with an electronic system. It's fully covered. I don't know what is inside. I'm asking you to check whether it is linear or not. What do? There are some probes inside, okay? Some probes for you to connect. There are two input ports. There's an output port like this. So system is unknown to you. Somehow you need to find out whether it is a linear system or a non-linear system. How do you do it? Linear means something you can imagine, okay? Some kind of linear line, or this you might have learned. The slope is constant. Okay, when the slope will not be a linear ramp signal, for example, the slope will be constant. So for like that, for a black box system, can you imagine some kind of a procedure to find out whether it is linear or non-linear? Some kind of thought process in your end. I'm looking for.
Check if the output is in the form of the input.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so you are trying to connect this idea. So the output in the form of input. So for example, you give a sine and you generate a sine waveform using something called a function generator in the lab, and you set a particular frequency for a sine wave, create a sine wave. This function generator, basically it creates different kinds of waveforms, like sawtooth waveforms, or a triangle. So for example, like this, you can create a waveform like this, or you can create a triangular waveform, or you can create a sine waveform. All these you can create using a function generator. Okay, in the first year you might have used that. I hope you would have used it. Okay, function. So you can vary the frequency of that function generator, connect a, give a sine waveform to the system, study whether you are getting an output sine wave or not. That's good. Okay, that's one way. Good. Any other answer? So you give an input signal, study the output in an oscilloscope, whether you are getting this a similar kind of a sine wave output. Okay, with a change in what? Phase, as well as a change in amplitude. So that's what you call it as gain, I said, B by A. The input amplitude by output, output amplitude by input amplitude. That's the gain of the system. So you'll be learning about in electronic circuit something called amplifiers. Okay, electronic amplifiers, okay, transistor-based amplifiers. All these, in fact, they'll be giving you some kind of gains. Okay, so input voltage will be what do you call, amplified. Okay, or otherwise it will be attenuated. Now, let us try to define something called linear systems kind of a definition. Then easily you can understand the concept. This is a very profound and important concept which has been completely exploited, this property of linear system. Okay, it is abiding by certain, it's governed. Linear systems are governed or abiding certain rules. Only those systems which are governed by these rules or laws, you call it as linear systems. The rest of systems you call it as nonlinear. Okay, so in this case, if you don't understand this particular rule, you will appreciate the importance of the entire second unit. Okay, so you need to know the connection exactly. Then only the conceptual clarity will be there, so that you can study with some kind of what do you call clarity. Otherwise, you will learn things not in the right way. So understand here. So I have a system. Okay, unknown to me. I will take a signal, something called some x1. Signal is defined to be x1 of t, and I will be collecting the output, seeing the output, recording the output. I am calling it as y1 of t. Okay. So now I am doing this operation. I am doing the same. I am taking the same system. I am choosing a different signal, something like x2 of t. Okay, and then I get the output. That is y2 of t. Now I got two responses. For x1 of t, I got y1 of t. x2 of t, I got y2 of t. Okay, is it clear? Now what do? I take these two signals. Okay, then I'll take these two signals, x1 of t plus x2 of t. You add these two signals and then give it to my system. And if I observe the output, I'm observing now. Okay, as a very keen electronics engineer, you are sitting in the lab and you are observing it. Imagine this. So then when you're observing it, if you notice y1 of t plus y2 of t as output, the same two signals, whatever you have obtained here now, you have recorded the data. Okay, with respect to time, you have recorded the data, y of t. This is also t, y of t. At various instants of time, what is the value of the y of t? It may be a graph you will be getting. Okay, some kind of a signal you will be getting something. So you are now looking at those two signals. This is y1 of t, this is y2 of t. And you are adding these two values point by point, that time by time. And you are noticing that the output what you have obtained is this y of, let us take these two combined signal as x3 of t. You are getting a combined output of this y3 of t. If you observe this, immediately you are sensing something. That property of this LTI system, one property is what you are seeing here. It is called as law of, first law. Okay, it's called a law of additivity. Law of additivity. So can somebody summarize what is law of additivity?
Addition of signals.
Yeah, you take one signal, give it to the system, get output y1. You take another signal, give it to the system, get another output. Then add both the input signal, give it to the system. If you get y1 plus y2, then you call it as law of additivity. The system is governed or behaving according to this rule called as law of additivity. Okay, so that is the first point. So whether it is sufficient? No, it's
Sir.
not sufficient. Yeah.
Sir, can we call this as a superimposing, sir?
That's the next one. I'll tell you that. That is not superposition. I'll come back to that point. So now the second point is, I take the same signal, some signal x1 of t. I'm giving it to my system. And now I'm observing that I'm getting y1 of t. All right. And then I'm slightly performing an operation. What I'm doing is I'm taking the signal x1 of t, original signal x1 of t. I'm just slightly doing something called amplitude multiplication. Okay, this, can you see it? Amplitude scaling. Every one of you understand this? Amplitude scaling here. Okay, amplitude scaling. So when I perform that amplitude scaling, we already learned about amplitude scaling. Remember, there are two things we learned. One is amplitude scaling like this. Another one, what we learned? Kx1t plus some B bias. It's called biasing, amplitude shifting. The entire signal will go up and down. So you can take the signal up and down like this completely. With respect to time, you will not be doing anything. But with respect to y-axis, okay, the amplitude axis, you are shifting the entire signal, the base. Okay, this is called DC shift, they call it. But here what I'm doing, I'm simply doing only the amplitude scale. Taking the same signal, increasing the amplitude by some amount, some k. It may be a fraction or it may be a whole a kind of integer, okay, any value. So when I'm doing that, I'm noticing one important property now. I'm observing now by conducting an experiment. I'm seeing that the output is also getting scaled by the same amount. It's a very powerful idea. Okay, the output is also scaled by the same amount. So then I'm calling this particular property, okay, this property, okay, something called law of homogeneity. Homogeneity. So there are two laws, law of additivity and law of homogeneity. Okay, combinedly these two laws, law of additivity plus law of homogeneity. Combinedly, you call it as what? The guy said something, no? That's law of superposition. Who's that said? Who said this? Okay, it's called law of superposition. Law of superposition states k times x1 plus x2. If I give, output is going to be k times combined. Okay, this is a law of superposition idea. Now, what is the purpose of this? First, this is called linear systems definition. Linear systems are governed by these two laws. Can somebody define it clearly? What is linear systems? From the class?
Obey some law.
What are linear systems? Yeah, obey some laws. What are the two laws? It obeys law of superposition. Okay. This obeys law of superposition. Now, what is the purpose of doing this that we have to understand? Followed by, we are also having one more term. This is linear. Linearity definition, linear systems definition. What is linear? Time invariant systems. LTI. I will keep on telling LTI systems. What is that then? Can somebody define that? For the same system, take a signal. It is linear now. I understood it is abiding by the law of homogeneity and additivity. Now for the same system, I'm going to give some signal, some x1 of t, and I'm observing it is y1 of t. Now if I shift the signal, okay, delay the signal by some alpha. We know what is time shifting. Okay, it's coming little late. Signal is going to come late. Delay. It's called delay. If I observe y1 of t minus r, output is also shifted by the same amount. Okay. So for example, if I take this signal and I give it, and if I observe, the output is something like this. Okay. And after some time, what I'm doing, after some time, okay, I'm taking the same signal. Okay. This is with respect to some time. Now I'm delaying it. Now, if I'm going to give the signal, whatever be the delay here, for example, delay can be 1 second. Okay, the linear system, the output is also going to delay by the same amount. The same signal I'll be getting, but the same delay will be. The response will be y1 t. Okay, so this kind of signals, for example, you are operating in you're working with a particular linear system. You have given a particular signal to the system, x of t, and you observed some output y of t. After 3 hours, you are coming and you are giving the same signal, 3 hours after. Okay, and if you observe the same output, but with a delay of 3 hours, you are not seeing any change in the signal original characteristics. Nothing is changed. Okay, the same signal you are seeing. So in that case, then you are seeing, you are seeing a time invariant system. Can you imagine some systems behaving like a time varying one, the classic case? Time varying systems.
Speech signal.
Pitch.
Music.
Excellent. Then music.
High signal.
Okay. These are all signals. Okay. I'm talking about systems. Imagine a system wherein systems normally they operate on signals. You give some signals to an RC network, voltage signal, for example. You get an output voltage. Okay. So we are talking about something now, something called, we are shifting our focus from signals to systems now. Okay. So our focus is on systems right now. We'll go back again to signals. Okay, don't worry, we'll come back again. I'm introducing you the important concepts. So one is signals. Yeah, the time varying system is the one you can imagine a rocket. Okay, it's now moving towards something like Mars or something. I will be calling this system as a time varying system. Can somebody tell me why? Why I'm calling this system as a time varying system? See, it's a mechanical system. Okay, there are a lot of mechanical, electromechanical components are inside. Okay, so definitely mass of that particular rocket is an important expression. Okay, it's an important parameter, they call it. Mass of the rocket. So when you are mathematically modeling the system, you are taking the mass component, the spring component, and the resistive component, inductive component, everything into account in the mathematical model of the system. So now what happens to the mass of the rocket when it goes up? It's going to change. Okay, this parameter is going to change. Primarily because fuel is going to take a lot of mass. Fuel. When you spend, you are going to use the fuel in order to move up. So naturally, you are exhausting the fuel. When the fuel level is going to come down, the parameter mass is going to go down a bit. It will not drastically reduce, but gradually it reduces. So naturally, the behavior of the system for the same input signal at some time t will not be the same at some other time t plus t minus k, delayed signal. It will not be y t minus k, you will not be getting this. There will be a different output. The reason is the mass parameter, the parameter of the system has changed. When the system parameter changes, the output is also going to change. Are you getting the point clearly what I'm saying? Anybody having difficulty understanding this? What is it I said right now? Can somebody tell me? What is time varying systems?
Continuous signal.
What is time varying system?
But parameters
You are not
keep
getting
changing with
it.
change, sir.
Parameters
So
are
we are
changing.
moving our focus from signals to systems. Now, systems are something which acts over the signals. Now I am talking about a time, not a time varying signal. I am talking about a time varying system. Time varying system, how did I define? What is time invariant system? How did I define? Can you understand? How did I define time varying system? Time invariant system. Can somebody tell me this? What is it I said here?
When we give a certain,
If I give a signal, tell me, yeah, good. Got an input to a system.
it gives certain output at certain instant of time.
Okay.
After
Then,
later
sometime.
after some time, if we give the output,
After some time delay. After some time delay. Good. Tell me.
if we give the
If
output,
you give the output,
we get same output without any change in
the
parameters.
output is also the same, but the same shift happens in the output also. The same time delayed shift happens in the output also. The output amplitude or the frequency or nothing is changing. The same output I'll be getting, but it is shifted by some time instead, some alpha. Okay. So this kind of a system I call it as a time invariant system. But for time varying systems, I said something, time varying system and the parameters of the system are going to change. Then you will not be getting such a kind of behavior. For example, it may behave a particular way at a time t. But at some time t plus t minus alpha, its output behavior will be something completely different. It may not be y t minus. It may be some k times y of t minus alpha, or it may be something else different. So you have to understand clearly, time varying systems are quite difficult to handle. The tools that you are going to learn under this subject mostly on time invariant, linear time invariant systems. That's our idea. Now using this property, what are the properties? Number one, additivity. Number two, homogeneity. Number three, what? Invariance. Time invariance. There are three properties. Linear time invariant systems, they adhere to these three properties: additivity, homogeneity, invariance. By using this property, we are going to work out something very powerful. So if I have a signal, okay, an LTI system, the question before me is, if I give an impulse signal as input, the question is like this. If I give an impulse signal, like this, the response I'll be getting, it's a very sharp signal, okay? It's more like, impulse is more like hitting your system with a hammer. It's a jerk, okay? So you are hitting a system like a hammer. So that is why it is a very sharp signal, they call it impulsive. When you're going to give this one impulse to the system, the system will normally respond like something like this. For example, you take this signal. So this I'll be calling it as the system impulse response. Okay. If the impulse response decays after some time, okay, some time tending to infinity, the system is bounded. Okay, the x of t is lying within a bound. Okay, within a bound. Then I'll call the system as a stable system. If the impulse response is going unbounded, for example, it's keep on increasing like this, and the output amplitude is not coming down, it's not within a bound. See, bound means within a certain limit. Output amplitude is not within a limit, it's keep on increasing. Then I'll call the system is unstable. Stability and not stable or unstable systems are quite difficult to handle. Okay, you have to ensure your system is stable, and you should ensure it should not go into an unstable region. So for that, a different kind of a subject you'll be learning, something called control systems. You'll be learning in the next semester, where you'll try to make an unstable system into a stable one by cascading the original system with some other system. It's called controller. You'll be cascading the system with one other system, thereby you'll make it stable. In a negative feedback loop, you'll be achieving that. Okay, but that you'll learn in a different subject. But right now, just keep it in mind, impulse responses are quite important. Now, the question before you is, I know for a given impulse signal, my given LTI system has given some output, something like this. Let us call this one as some delta n, the discrete domain. Take it. This is some h of n. This h normally represents the impulse response. Okay, this impulse response I obtained. One point that you have to understand it, for every system, every LTI system, impulse responses are unique. You got a unique response. That is the characteristics of that system. Okay, you are defining your system, whatever the system, it may be an automobile or it may be a rocket, whatever it is, by defining the system only with impulse response. Once impulse response is known, you got all the information about the system of dynamics. Dynamics is known. It's applicable for linear time invariant systems. Okay, it's applicable for linear time invariant. Are you getting the point what I'm saying? Everybody with me till this point? With me? What did I say here? Can somebody tell me what did I convey here? Yeah, please, one of you. Girls, nobody is opening their mouth. The classroom, whether girls or not, I am not sure. What did I convey here? Super important topic. Yeah, tell me. Can somebody open your mouth? Am I audible? Am I connected? Gautam?
Sir,
Yeah, can you repeat what I said here?
where, sir?
Yeah, here. Super important.
I think giving an impulse signal to an
Yeah.
LTA system,
Ah,
the output getting is maybe unstable.
stable or unstable. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing is h of n indicates what? The impulse response. H of n is the impulse response. That's what I conveyed. Good. Now, what is the significance or importance of this? Why impulse response is so important? Can somebody?
Effective working, proper signal, no problems in bandwidth regarding.
No. You have to. No. You think carefully with what we have learned so far. That's why I'm checking that.
It's unique.
We learned about two decomposition. That is unique, all right. Two decompositions we learned. What is that? What are the two decompositions of any signal? What is that?
Impulse decomposition.
Forgot. Impulse decomposition. Another one.
Exponential
Sinusoidal decomposition. Complex exponential sinusoidal decomposition. Okay. So there are two. So what are the 2 points? You take any signal x of t or x of n. You can decompose these two signals into what do you call a summation or an integration of impulses. Okay, I said this. I hope you can recall. The impulses are scaled by that x of t and time shifted. Okay, time shifted scaled versions of this. The same manner you can use this for impulse. Using impulse, you can do that. The same manner, x of t, x of n can also be by the help of a basis function e power j omega t continuous e power j omega n discrete. Is this delta n or delta t? Delta n is discrete, delta t is continuous. J e power j omega t is continuous, e power j omega n is discrete. So you can go for a combination of this, summation or integration of complex exponential sequence. This is what we learned under the domain called mathematics of signals. I hope you can recall that. Okay, we learned under the topic called dot product concept, orthogonality, then orthonormality. All those again go back and learn. Okay, so we need to know how to x of t and x of n can be represented with the help of this. Okay, summation and integration. Now that's the 4 transformation I mentioned: DTFT, CTFT. Okay, continuous time Fourier transformation and all. Now we will move ahead. This is where the idea is. Now you can understand the impulse response significance. Now in that case, the question before you is knowing only the impulse response. Okay, is it possible? Is it possible for me to generate or identify the system response for any input signal? It's a very powerful idea. Okay. Knowing for LTI systems, okay, for LTI. So I have an LTI system in hand. I know what is the impulse response is. That is, impulse response is what? For one impulse, how the system is behaving. Delta t, h of t, or delta n, h of n. I know only this. Okay, I know only this. But I am asking you to generate or identify system response for any input signal. You think of a complex signal. Is it possible to do that? That's the question. So I have a signal something like this. Now I should know, I would like to know the LTI system response okay, I'd like to know LTI system response, Y of t. Is it possible for me to compute this only impulse response? Whether it is possible for you to compute this? That's a big question. Compute this output response knowing only the impulse response, knowing only this. What is that impulse response? Can somebody answer this? Can give a try? Anyone of you in the class? Is it possible to do that? Is it possible to do that? Exploiting the LTI system property, this homogeneity, additivity, superposition. What can we do? Are you getting the point clearly what I'm saying? You understand the question? Can somebody repeat the question what I asked now? What's the question I'm demanding from you? Can somebody explain the question? What's the question?
You're asking output, sir?
Ram Charan. Okay, who said this right now? Who spoke? Gautama. Okay, Gautam. I'm asking output. What output? You try to define it, man. Shalini. Shalini, open your mouth, unmute and talk. What is the question I'm asking you? Shweta. Akshaya has left the meeting, running away. Then who is that? Dhanalakshmi. Can you open your unmute and talk, Dhanalakshmi? What is that I'm asking you? Akshaya joined. Sweta, what's the question? Just try to express in words, in your own words. What's the question I'm demanding right now? Just explain the question. I'm not asking the answer. Yeah. What is this question? What information I have in hand? The information I
Random
have.
signal.
No. The information I have in hand right now is only the impulse response I have. What is the question I'm asking? Knowing only the impulse response, is it possible for me to identify or generate the system response for any input signal? What is you are trying to understand? What is that in fact you understood? Just can you express in words? If I give you, for example, a signal like this, okay, the question is, if I give you this signal and I want you to inject the signal as an input to the LTI system, inject it, okay, and you'll be getting some output now without giving this input to the system, LTI system, without giving. Can you tell the output with knowing the mathematical model of 60 and the impulse response, the corresponding output? Can you tell? How you can tell that? Yeah.
By knowing the impulse output means with that impulse response we can mathematically define the signals as a decomposition, sir, like a series transformation.
Very good, very good. Who is that? Kalachalana?
Yes, sir.
Very good, Kalachalana. You understood the concept. So that is the idea I'm looking for. So that's the power of LTI system. See, what he's telling is, sir, I know that this x of t, okay, is a series of a train of impulses. I can create this x of t by reducing the sampling time a bit. I can go in for something very close together. I can generate waveforms, samples, impulses like this. All these impulses are nothing but time shifted and scaled. Scaled versions of what? Original impulse, delta n. So if I know my system output is delta n and the corresponding output is some h of n, some samples, I'll be getting this h of n. Okay. If I know this data in hand, what is this data? My LTI system has behaved like this. Then I can study delta n minus k. What will be the output? Immediately, can somebody tell me? What will be the output? What will be the output of this system? According to the time invariant property of the LTI system. Time invariant. What is that?
H of n
This is h of n, man. I got a signal. That's all. H of n minus k. You have to understand. Yeah, that's all. You have to understand that clearly. This signal, if this is going to get shifted like this by k instant, this output is going to get shifted according to the time invariant property. So naturally, I'm going to get there like this. Are you getting the point clearly what I'm saying? So I can compute, if I know this, I can compute this. Okay, then you can also understand that if I am going to multiply my signal with some x, okay, some x of n, delta n minus k. What I am trying to do here, I am simply amplitude scaling it. Amplitude scaling it. Okay, if I do that, this is my k, this is my delta n minus k, slightly increased amplitude or decreased amplitude, scaled. Now, if I give it as input, what is the output I'll be getting? Can somebody help me? What is this property? Remember, k times x1 if I give, what do I get as output? K times y1. That is the property of LTI system. scaling property. It's called homogeneity, I said. So naturally, I'll be getting x of n, h of n minus k. Are you getting the point clearly what I'm saying? Okay, so I can do this for all the samples. Then I'll go for a summation series. The discrete domain, and in the continuous domain, I'll go for an integration. Okay, so the final form, okay, the integration form will end up with something called a convolution sum. Okay, it's more like x of k delta n minus k with k running from minus infinity plus infinity. Okay, that is the input. And tell me what is output of the system for this signal? Correct.
X of 0, sir.
Carefully look at it. If I give this as input,
Okay.
if I give this as input to if I give this as an input to my system, what is output? See, every signal delta input is scaled as well as time shifted. Okay, so in that case, what do I really mean? My x of t is like this. Now I get the scaled. What is the scaling factor? That is x of k. What is the time shifted factor? This is the time shifting. I'm doing this one. Delta n minus k, n minus k minus 1 plus 1, k plus 1. So by varying the k, it's going to run like this, the signals. I'm going to get a train of impulses like this. Okay, so I'm going to get these points from minus infinity to plus infinity. This is my x of t. This is my input now. So for each impulse, I know how the system is going to behave. That's going to be h of n. Each impulse. At n equal to 0, it's going to behave like this. N equal to k, it's going to behave like h of n minus k. Then if the input is scaled, the output will also be scaled. So then what will be the output? Can somebody tell me the correct answer?
X of n minus k.
K equal to minus infinity plus infinity. X of k. X will not change. The scaling factor will be the same. Whatever k at the input I give, I'm going to get the k or the output. What is output now? Instead of delta, what do I have? Input side delta, man. What is output I'll be getting? For each delta, h. That's good. H of n. Are you getting the point? Are you getting the point what I'm saying now? Clearly. So this is the input. This is the input. I have this is the input. This is output. So what is in between? LTI system. So if I give this kind of summation series as an input to my LTI system, I'll be getting this kind of an output to my LTI system. It is primarily because linear time invariant property of the system. It's a very powerful idea. That's why we are going for decomposition. Okay, the decomposition ideas, it's applicable. We can also work out this for e power j omega t also. Okay, so we are going to see that. Okay, in the Fourier transformation, frequency response analysis, and I'll understand that. But the key point is the basis signals. What are the basis signals? They are the impulses. Okay, so you can visualize this. Okay, for example, some k equal to minus 1. How the signal will be? You can see for k equal to minus, it will be x of minus 1 delta n minus of minus 1. Is it clear? Can you see it clearly where the signal will be? In the original axis, the signal will be this is 0, this is minus 1. Whatever be the x value is, I'm talking about this particular instant of the signal. Okay, this is delta n plus 1. So I'm talking about this point. Okay, this is what this signal is. X of k equal to minus 1. So you can think of k equal to 0. K equal to 0 where it is, this point. Input signal. This is my input. This is x of 0. So this is going to be x of 0 delta n minus 0. What about this point? This is going to be 1. That's going to be x of 1 delta n minus 1. This end, if you go this end, minus 2, is going to be x of minus 2, k equal to minus 2, delta n plus 2. You understand how we are seeing the train of impulses as an input end. So the key point is for each impulses, I'll be getting something called h of n. Okay, for each of these impulses, I'm going to give now as an input. All these samples are going to give us input. to my LTI system. For each impulse, I know how this is going to behave. That's h of n. In that case, I have to scale my output for each impulse with respect to this scaling, the input scaling. Input signal, whatever it is going to take, now the amplitude that will be scaled. So that's going to affect my output also. Okay, h of x of n is going to come, h of k is going to come. And then I have to sum it up. Why? Primarily because according to the rule of additivity, if I give x1, I should get y1. If I give x2, I should get y2. If I give x1 plus x2, that's the addition of those two. I should get it. That's why I'm summing up here. What is the continuous time version of that? Same thing. Can somebody help me out? What is the continuous time version? That's nothing but x of tau, h of t minus 2, minus infinity to plus. This is called as a convolution integral. The LTI property is a very powerful integral, heavily employed, okay, for all applications. Convolution integral, and this one is called convolution sum, discrete domain. Okay, so that's the idea. With this, I'll stop today's class. Okay, you have any questions on this? Anybody have any difficulty anywhere? Please ask. It's a very important concept. Any difficulty? Anywhere, any doubt? Super important idea. No idea, no questions? Okay, I'll stop here.